Louis Reichenthal Gottschalk was an American historian and expert on Lafayette and the French Revolution. He taught for many years at the University of Chicago, where he was the Gustavus F.and M.Swift Distinguished Service Professor of History. Biography. Gottschalk was the sixth of 8 children of Morris and Anna Crystal Gottschalk, Jewish immigrants to Brooklyn from Poland. He graduated from Cornell University with an A.B. in 1919, A.M. in 1920, and a Ph.D. in 1921, under the supervision of Carl L. Becker. He taught briefly at the University of Illinois, and joined the University of Louisville faculty in 1923, but resigned in protest in 1927 after a friend and colleague in the history department was fired as part of an attempt by the university administration to abolish tenure. He joined the University of Chicago in 1927, was promoted to full professor in 1935, and chaired the history department from 1937 to 1942. He was given his endowed chair, the Gustavus F.and M. Swift Distinguished Service Professorship of History, in 1959. In 1965, facing forced retirement from Chicago, he moved again to the University of Illinois at Chicago so that he could continue teaching. From 1929 to 1943, he served as assistant editor of the Journal of Modern History. For 3 years following, he was acting editor. He was president of the American Historical Association in 1953 and the second president of the American Society for 18th-Century Studies. He met poet Laura Riding, then known by her maiden name, Laura Reichenthal, while she was a student at Cornell and he was a graduate assistant there. They married on November 2, 1920, and he took her last name as his middle name. However, they divorced in 1925. He later married Fruma Kasdan in 1930. They had 2 sons. Awards and honors. Gottschalk was a Guggenheim Fellow in 1928 and 1954, and a Center for Advanced Study of the Behavioral Sciences Fellow in 1957. In 1953, he was honored as Chevalier in the Legion of Honor, and in 1954, he won a Fulbright Award. He received honorary doctorates from the University of Toulouse, Hebrew Union College, and the University of Louisville. In 1965, his students presented him with a Festschrift, Ideas in History, essays presented to Louis Gottschalk by his former students, Duke University Press. A series of lectures is named for him at the University of Louisville. The annual $1,000 Louis Gottschalk Prize, named in his honor, is given by the American Society for 18th-Century Studies to the author of an outstanding historical or critical study. Works. Gottschalk published 7 volumes on the history of Gilbert du Motier, Marquis de Lafayette, as well as several other books on modern history and revolutions. His books include The Consulate of Napoleon Bonaparte, Haldom and Julius Go. 1925, Kessinger Publishing, 2007, ISBN 978-1-4325-8611-9. The Era of the French Revolution, Houghton Mifflin Company, 1929, Surgit Publications, 1979. Gottschalk, Louis R. The French Revolution, Conspiracy of Circumstance. Persecution and Liberty. Essays in honor of George Lincoln Burr. Air Publishing. ISBN 978-0836-90783-4. Retrieved June 12, 2015. Jean-Paul Marat, A Study in Radicalism, New York, Greenberg, Publisher, Inc., 1927, Air Company Publishers, Incorporated, 1972, ISBN 978-0405085666. Studies since 1920 of French thought in the period of the Enlightenment. The Journal of Modern History Volume 4, Number 2, June 1932. Lady-in-Waiting, The Romance of Lafayette and Agla Acute de Hunnelstein. The Johns Hopkins Press, 1939. Lafayette Comes to America, University of Chicago Press, 1935. Kessinger Publishing, 2008. ISBN 978-1-4366-9259-5. Carl Becker, Skeptiker-Humanist. The Journal of Modern History Volume 18, Number 2, June 1946. Our Vichy Fumble, The Journal of Modern History Volume 20, Number 1, March 1948. Lafayette, Indiana, America, 1777–1783. L'Esprit de Lafayette Society, 1975. Lafayette and the Close of the American Revolution, The University of Chicago Press, 1942. UMI Books on Demand, 1998. ISBN 978-0-608-133690. Lafayette Between the American and the French Revolution, 1783–1789. University of Chicago Press. Lafayette, Indiana, The French Revolution, University of Chicago Press, 1969. Lafayette Joins the American Army, University of Chicago Press, 1974. ISBN 978-0-608-133706. Social Science Research Council, Committee on Historical Analysis. Lady-in-Waiting, The Romance of Lafayette and Agla de Hunnelstein. Lafayette, A Guide to the Letters, Documents, and Manuscripts in The Life of Jean-Paul Marat. Kessinger Publishing, 2006. ISBN 978-1-4286-00126. The Foundations of the Modern World. Allen and Amp, Unwin, 1969. Toward the French Revolution, Europe and Amp, America in the 18th Century. Charles Scribner's Sons, 1973. ISBN 978-0-684-13699-8. The Use of Personal Documents in History, Anthropology, and Sociology. Editors Louis Reichenthal Gottschalk, Clyde Cluckhone, Robert Cooley Angel. Social Science Research Council, 1945. Generalization in the Writing of History. Understanding History, a Primer of Historical Method. His papers are held at the University of Chicago. Additional reading. Louis R. Gottschalk, Yearbook, 1975. American Philosophical Society, 1976, pp. 55–58.